Hi, my name is Jo Hadley. I'm a somatic therapist and counselor, and this is my podcast, Being a Human Lighthouse. This week, I want to just talk about the difficulties of surrendering. Surrendering or letting go is one of the most important things to do in accessing our own inner wisdom. Often, our ego patterns or the different programs that we have, our faulty beliefs, block us from accessing our inner wisdom. And we often subconsciously hold on to these patterns. And it's these and how they manifest in our life or in our body that we are kind of surrendering. It's very easy to think about in theory, but at times it can be quite tricky. I'm finding in my own life, because as I've written about and talked about before, I did ask the question and ask the universe to let me know who I am. Let me know my own soul. Let me know and connect clearly with my own inner wisdom. And as it's often the case, when you truly do ask to go on an inner journey, it sometimes leads to a huge change, a lot of disruption, and what they call the dark night of the soul. I'm definitely going through one of those with everything from my past is like being gradually or sometimes quickly stripped away. Some things I find easy to surrender. And I've done a lot of inner work for years. So, in some ways, I've done a lot of surrendering. I think when it comes to really, really big things, I think it's quite easy to surrender, at least for me anyway. About 3 years ago, when I was on my bike and I got hit by a car and I was lying on the road waiting for the ambulance, I remember just thinking, well, this is what's happened. I just have to accept it. And whatever happens from here, I've just got to go with the flow. I heard a voice say, breathe. And I went, oh, that's right. And I had done some reading of a couple of Peter Levine books. So I knew that what I was doing lying there on the road was kind of presencing myself, staying in tune, listening to my body. And I noticed my left leg shaking. And I thought, oh, it's releasing trauma. That's a good thing. So in that particular moment, I just let go because I knew I had no choice. That was quite easy. To cut a much longer story short, because the medical care and attention I had, well, could write a book about the complaints and the problems with it. But later that night, I did have, I was kept in hospital, and I had a wonderful young nurse called Daniel, who I call my angel, because in the middle of the night, I just knew something wasn't right. I just felt very unwell and called him, and I was in a very small regional hospital. Services aren't great there, but anyway, they called up a doctor from the emergency department. And I just remember feeling so unwell that I just surrendered and thought, well, let go, whatever happens, happens. I never did get told exactly what was going on, whether it was shock or dehydration or some other response, I don't know, but I did come good a few hours later and live to tell the tale today. The main point is at that time I felt so sick. It was so easy to surrender and just let go and let God. But what I find in my life at the moment is I'm very aware of a really, really stubborn control ego pattern. It's been a masterful pattern, and I've talked about this one before. Masterful and helping me. It's been great at helping me through my life, because when I wasn't aware of all the things I'm aware of now, it kept me safe. It was really smart. It's really discerned and kept me out of danger. It's probably wrapped me up in too much cotton wool. And it's really been even hard sometimes to discern that this is a control pattern. And I think I only really realized that it's an underlying ego control pattern during this dark night of the soul, when I realized this is what the dark night of the soul is trying to get me to finally see and surrender, that it's no longer helping me. In fact, it's sabotaging areas of my life in order to stay safe and in control. With all patterns and all coping strategies, they start often in childhood as a response to keep us safe in a time when we were too young and vulnerable to be able to do anything different. And I definitely know this pattern started possibly very young, 18 months, 2 years old. And it's been a great pattern, and I'm grateful for it. And in fact, I have a lot of compassion for it, a lot of gratitude for it. In fact, I don't want it to actually disappear completely because it's very helpful. It just needs to know how to relax and take more of a break and let myself truly be guided and truly just allow my inner wisdom to run the show completely. It's interesting, I'm aware of this pattern, and I do a lot of meditating, I do a lot of work on myself, but sometimes you need someone to help you, like a compassionate witness, a safe space holder, someone who can just ask the right questions that can allow your inner wisdom to help you see and integrate the energies related to the control pattern. I also think that when you go on the inner journey, the deeper inwards you go, of course, all the easy stuff falls off first. So you've got the really hard, difficult stuff that's left. And sometimes these can get missed really easily because they're really subtle. I actually catch this one every now and then and go and realize just how subtle it is and how all pervasive it can be, because it's been there all my life. It's normal, but I know that I'm getting ahead because I catch it and I see it and I'm sitting with it, but it hasn't fully integrated. I've realized it really needs the presence of someone of even a higher consciousness or equal consciousness. Because when that happens, up comes more of the sensations in my body that I can witness and experience, and that's the integration. It is a bit tricky sometimes because I've done so much work that most of the people in my life aren't at this level of consciousness that can help me witness it. But I've had a colleague help me this week, and also just listening to a podcast of another spiritual or a teacher who, or a healer or therapist that works the similar type work that me, just talking, and his weekly talk, answering questions. I found myself accessing this pattern at a deeper level and being able to process it. And I've also witnessed that sometimes when those people go and I'm back alone again, the sensations that I was witnessing disappear. So I really do need the space of someone who's a high-level space holder. So that's how I'm approaching surrender. I keep doing it, even though I still keep working on it myself. I keep surrendering and acknowledging and turning it over to my higher power whenever I can. And whenever I catch myself grabbing back, I try to just be gentle and kind and compassionate to myself. And just know that when my body feels safe enough, it will let it go. I keep building the inner resources, trying to get the body as regulated as possible so it can feel safe. Because a pattern and surrender can only happen when we feel safe enough to let it go. And I'm curious that this pattern still doesn't feel safe. it still doesn't truly trust enough to just let itself be seen fully and integrate. But with all healing processes and transformations, it is a process. And I acknowledge my frustration and irritation at times and know that that's just okay to feel, but I let it go, because trying to force a pattern to change before it's ready is not only fruitless, but it can actually cause it to go the other direction and increase its strength and hold. So as I help others on this journey and lead them towards their own inner wisdom, I continue on my own path, knowing that I've come a long way, but very aware that there's some really deep and tricky patterns that are still at the core, yet to be fully integrated. And of course, I make the intention to keep taking the steps towards that. My goal is to know myself, to fully trust my inner wisdom, to completely know I'm part of all that is, and that I have enough inner light and wisdom to overcome and see me through everything. And I also wonder what the lessons are in these patterns, because there's always a lesson or something we can learn and grow, get wisdom from. So I'm curious about this pattern. It is a pattern. Like I said, it's a very intelligent pattern. It sometimes thinks it knows everything and wants to protect me and keep me safe, which is all very noble. And that's what all patterns are trying to do, trying to keep us safe in their own strange way. But often when they're about to be seen, they often will sabotage and create all these unconscious issues around us and dramas around us to prove to us that they're right and that our own inner light, our inner wisdom, our connection to source is not right. They often like to prove themselves right by creating these chaos and dramas and unpredictabilities, or even just sabotage what we do. Some patterns can keep us from being successful in our work because there's an underlying deep-seated belief that we're not good enough. So it's going to create the template and create that scenario. So we keep proving it right over and over. It can be quite a strange or difficult concept to think that we've got these unconscious patterns that are playing because we're so trained to just believe in what we see. But I've noticed many years ago, not just in my own life, but just listening to clients and their stories, how people can constantly have, trips and falls, or people can have the same pattern happening to them over and over again. There's often a deeper meaning or something that needs resolution that hasn't been fully resolved. And often when we throw light on these patterns and we truly integrate them, we can see with our inner wisdom what all the sabotage that was happening and all the drama it was creating. And we can see that it was trying to help us. But now that it's integrated, we can see that it was just trying to prolong its own life by recreating problems to keep itself in a job. Well, I'm happy to put my little pattern into retirement, or at least semi-retirement. Like I said, it's a helpful, intelligent pattern, which isn't completely wrong. It has its place. So I often just tell it that it's allowed to take a break, sit beside me and not be quite so hypervigilant and on the lookout for the things it's trying to control. And during this dark night of the soul, I guess the spotlight has been turned on it, And maybe for good reason. Maybe the whole dark night of the soul is to really see and integrate this dark pattern of mine. So that's where I am this week, always putting into practice the things that I work with others. We're all human. We all have our own patterns. We all have our own programming. We all have our own control issues, coping strategies that are trying to keep us safe. And until we fully integrate them, there is always going to be either health issues or life situations or dramas that happen. And sometimes the dramas are just happening to show us and lead us towards some inner strengths or inner qualities that we probably wouldn't have gained any other way. It's another way to look at it as well. So now I finish off with my weekly mindfulness meditation. It's designed just to ground us, connect us to ourselves, tune into our body, allow some of the programs or patterns and coping strategies to be seen, because they are often in our body and the unpleasant sensations are often them showing themselves. And it's being able to sit without being overwhelmed in compassion and non-judgment with these unpleasant sensations and feelings that allows them to integrate and to heal. And then we see often the underlying inner wisdom of our soul. So I encourage you to either sit down or lie down. You need to be fully present to really gain the most benefit from this. Also, too, in any meditation, sometimes we can change our level of consciousness and alter our level of consciousness. So that can be a bit dangerous if you're driving or doing something else. So while you're sitting or lying, I invite you just to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And just focus on where your body is in space. How does it feel to be sitting on the chair or lying on the bed? What are your hands feeling, experiencing, touching? Is the chair comfortable, uncomfortable? Are there any sensations registering where you're sitting? Can you feel your back being supported? Are your feet on the floor? Can you move your toes? Just imagine you're connected to the earth through your feet and through your body being in conjunction to the chair or bed. Now I invite you to imagine a cord coming from the center of your head, extending to the center of the universe. So now you're plugged into all that is and the universe. You're a conduit from the stars above to the earth below. And all the information flows freely through you, in and out. And just notice all around you is not empty space. It's filled with quantum information, universal information. And as you breathe in, low and slow, just imagine every cell in your body is filling up with quantum information, information that your body and cells require for optimal vitality, optimal health, optimal decision making, and to lead a balanced, healthy life. As you breathe in, just imagine every cell in your body is filling up with all the information you need from the universe around you. And as you breathe out, you're just letting go and surrendering any toxins or information and programs you no longer need. They can be recycled back by the universe. So breathing in, filling up every cell in your body, light and information. What do you need to know? And let go of anything you no longer need, that no longer serves you. Surrender it to the universe. Now, just turn your attention inside your body. As long as it's not overwhelming, just notice the sensations in your body. They may be pleasant, they may be neutral, often they're unpleasant. Just be curious and non-judgmental, especially with the unpleasant sensations. These are often the hidden and trapped energies and emotions and faulty beliefs that we haven't fully processed, that are part of our coping strategies. This is how they try to talk to us. So just be aware of them. Don't try to change them. If you need to, you can just breathe low and slow into them. But just be aware of the sensations. Be curious if they change or don't change. There's no right or wrong. And if it gets overwhelming with any of the sensations or anything overwhelming arises, just open your eyes and focus your feet on the floor and into your five senses. Ground yourself back into the present moment. But if you can stay with the sensations in your body, just notice them. Are they familiar or are they new? Are you getting any insights from them? Or are you still not sure what they are or why they're here? There's no right or wrong answer. It's just be curious. Just notice. You're safe, sitting or lying, just noticing sensations arising within your body. Now we'll move on to the third stage. I invite you to just focus on your breath again, low and slow, just filling up every cell in your body. And as you breathe out, you're letting go of anything you no longer need. You're surrendering to the universe. After the third breath, I just want you to imagine and feel what it would feel like if you were being who you truly wish to be, if you were your highest version of yourself. Who would you be? How would you feel? If you were living the highest version of yourself, in line with your inner wisdom, connected to your higher self, how would you feel? Would there be joy? Would there be openness, expansion? Would there be love or peace? Would there be inspiration or creativity? Who would you be and how would you feel? How would you know if you reached this version of yourself? If all layers of coping strategies and patterns were surrendered, and underneath was this version of you, whole, complete, connected to your inner wisdom and your higher power. How limitless or infinite would you feel? Would you recognize this? Have you ever had glimpses of this side of you before? Perhaps doing a hobby or something you really enjoy. Feel what it would feel like to be this highest version of yourself, because you want to be able to recognize it when you become this, when you embody this highest version of yourself. Maybe you have feelings about what it would feel like. Maybe you have visions in your mind about who would be there, what you would be doing. Just be curious. How would you feel if you were your ultimate self, connected to all that is, connected to your inner wisdom and your higher power? How would it feel? Now, as we end this meditation, I'll just get you to just start coming back to your five senses. What are you hearing? Can you feel the floor and touch the floor? Can you feel the chair or the bed? You can move your hands and fingers. Move your feet and toes. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. I invite you just to notice your body. Has it changed? Is it lighter? Maybe it's heavier. Maybe you've got some inspirations. Maybe you've been able to surrender a pattern. Or maybe patterns have come to the surface and are a bit unpleasant. Just note what's happened, because this is your higher self's answer to what it wants you to look at and to be able to sit with and integrate. Anything overwhelming, just make sure you tune into your five senses and make sure you get back into the present moment and focus on something that's just happening now in the present moment. Like concentrate on your feet on the floor, just wiggling your toes and feeling the sensations. Overwhelm is often just that the body has too much information at one time. You want to surrender or do this little bit by little bit, even if it's a teaspoonful. And be kind and compassionate with yourself, whether you're overwhelmed or whether nothing happened or whether you've managed to integrate some energy today. So have a great week. I will come back with another episode next week. Bye for now.